Hey there. When I first started learning guitar, I learned a lot of things the hard way, mostly by trial and error. Over the years, I've figured out a lot of ways to make things easier, things I wish I'd discovered earlier, but at least I can pass it on to my students. I've given this a lot of thought, and I want to give you my top tips to make learning guitar faster and easier. Now, I have a lot more than what I'm going to talk about today, but what I've done is picked what I consider the cream of the crop. I believe these are the most valuable. If you get these, it'll make your guitar learning journey easier and more fun. Let's do this. Tip number 1, get the best instrument that you can afford. I've had a lot of students come to me with guitars with strings really high off the fretboard, or they just don't stay in tune, or strings are buzzing somewhere. And, they usually tell me, well, I don't want to spend too much money until I see how well I do. And so they picked something up at the flea market or from a friend or a Salvation Army or something like that. The problem with that is you're almost assuring yourself that you're going to fail. Anything you do is not going to sound good. Get an instrument that works right, that has reasonable action on the neck, and when you play it right, it sounds right. Now, I'm not suggesting you go out and spend more money than you're really comfortable with. It doesn't really take that much. But give yourself a little credit. You are worth spending at least enough money on to be successful with this. And the other side of that is, if you spend a little more money than you think you're really worthy of right now, you'll try to reach for that. And it'll make you practice more and want to do better. Tip number 2, kind of related. Whatever guitar you have, make it easier to play. There are several ways to do this. First of all, probably if it's an acoustic guitar, the strings are hurting your fingers, put some lighter strings on there. Another option is strings called silk and steel. They're much easier on the fingers, and none of this has to be forever. You can put lighter strings or silk and steel and then move up as you get more experience. One thing I encourage everyone to do is get your guitar set up properly so it has the best action. In other words, that the strings are as close to the fretboard as possible without buzzing or muting out. And unless it's a skill you happen to have a professional do it. Yeah, it'll cost a little bit of money, but consider it a small investment into your future of enjoying playing guitar. Tip number 3, make it easier to practice. And again, there's several things you can do around that. The first is just have your guitar out and ready to go. I've heard luthiers say best to store your guitar in the case. Well, they're not thinking like a guitar teacher or somebody trying to learn. If it's in the case, it's that much more effort to get out and practice, and it'll probably dissuade you from practicing sometimes. You can put your guitar in a stand or on a wall mount. What I'd really suggest you do is set yourself up a space to practice. So you have everything handy right there. Your guitar set up on the stand. Your tuner's there ready. You have some cushions to give you some back support and a chair that works for you. And I'm not talking about some big elaborate space, though if you got that, power to you. Even just a little corner in the living room or some closet even. When I first set up a place for myself to practice, it was just a little corner in the living room. It made a big difference. It was just so easy to sit down and practice for 10 minutes. I didn't have to go find everything and think too hard about it. Since then, I've developed a little more elaborate studio. But wherever you are, that's what works. Number 4, learn and practice warm-up exercises. I know it sounds boring at first, but it actually will make your practicing more fun. When you warm up, everything's easier, and that makes it more fun. Also, it gives you a chance to kind of just relax into practice and kind of sets the attitude straight. When you practice warm-up exercises, use something really simple. I like to teach my students what I call a finger developer. It's a very simple exercise where you just put one finger after the other, slowly paying attention to get in the right place, but without straining. And of course, you memorize it and it gets to be easy. You don't have to strain your brain too much around it. Another thing I recommend is stretching exercises, especially if you're older like me. I'm amazed at how much stretching before and sometimes during my practice has really helped me out. Number 5, practice every day. Yeah, I mean every day, 7 days a week. Now, before you freak out, I mean a little bit. I'm talking even 5 minutes a day. I used to say 10 minutes a day, but I found even 5 does the trick. What I've come to realize over years and years of teaching is that if you can develop the habit of practicing, it's much more valuable than trying to practice a whole bunch. And a little bit every day does the job. And of course, if you practice 5 minutes, it could turn to 10 to 15. I've gotten comment after comment from guitar students telling me how this one tip has really made such a big difference in their guitar playing. Number 6, practice with a beat. Now, the most obvious, and I recommend for everyone, get a metronome. Use it, of course, it's going to improve your timing. By the way, guitar players are known for not being very good with timing because we play a lot by ourselves, we practice. But you can also use it to kind of play some games with your practice and make it a little more interesting. Many students find it really helpful to kind of gauge how fast you're doing a scale and then try to pick up the speed little by little. I find it actually helps me slow down and get things right because I can keep to the beat. If I try to just go slow, I don't have a sense of how slow I need to go. Metronome's not the only way to practice with a beat. I think the drum machines are great. Oh, did I say drum machine? That's old-fashioned. Now it's drum software. If you have a Mac, you have GarageBand. That has tons of drum beats in there. It's great. You don't have a Mac? Do you have a PC? Get Cakewalk software. Cakewalk, like it sounds. It's free and it has a bunch of drum beats in it as well. Not only drum beats, but it's great recording software. And did I mention it's free? If all of that doesn't work for you, go on YouTube and find some drum beats. You'll find different tempos, and there's backing tracks too. With a little research, you can find something that'll really liven up your practice. Now, here's how to learn guitar chords quickly. Tip number 7, either borrow or create your own chord learning system. Now, I'm not talking anything elaborate, but not this. You're playing a song, you got these chords, and you come to a difficult chord, let's say the F chord. And you pause and you struggle with it, then you go on. Okay, now you start the whole song over, play the whole song, everything's going fine till you get to the F chord. There you go. You can do that 20 times and you've only practiced the F chord a very small amount of time. That's not a system. A system is you take that F chord and you say, you know the C chord, you practice moving to the F chord, to the C chord, F to the C. Oh, still having a problem with the F chord? Well, just do that by itself. Put fingers on, take them off. Do that a little bit every day until it gets easier. Then back to the C chord. Now add a third chord, that kind of thing. Start very slow with a metronome perhaps. Keep the timing and then build it up. Then add it back into your song. And you'll save so much time. It's so much more efficient to learn chords this way. I've created a whole system that I call the chord switching game. That's all it is. I pick several chords, I make little videos out, I'm starting slower and going faster, more time or less time between the chords as you're changing. Just kind of a guided practice in what I just described. But it's really not that hard if you want to just create your own system based on the chords that you need to work on. The other part of learning guitar chords quickly is to focus on the chords that you're going to use the most often with guitar. Now, there are particular keys for the guitar, and there are particular chords in those keys that are best to learn first. To start off with, I would pick something like the key of D, A, or G, or all three of those, but start with one. And then the main chords in the key of D would be D, G, and A7. You can play a lot of songs with just those three chords. Then, once you can switch comfortably between those three chords, find some simple 3-chord songs that you can play with those 3 chords and practice them. Start slow, go for little wins, little by little, so you feel a sense of success, and then build on that. Add another key, some more chords, little by little. Tip number 8, instead of focusing on just learning songs, put more attention on learning simple chord progressions. Because they're kind of like templates, you can use them to play lots of songs. So I talked in tip number 7 about 3 chords in the key. That's a simple chord progression. 1, 4, and 5 chord. D, G, and A7 is 1, 4, 5. I'll put a link somewhere below to more information on those kind of chord progressions. I call them common chord progressions. Start with the simplest ones. That means 3 chords. And then build up to 4 chord progressions. You'll find that many popular songs are made of those 3 and 4 chord progressions. It makes it so much easier to learn songs because instead of picking a song and treating every song like it's brand new, you start looking for the patterns. And many songs will be all one big pattern, and other songs will be the middle part will have the pattern, the rest of the song you need to work out. It's much more efficient than just trying to learn songs one at a time and treating every song as a brand new entity. And finally, tip number 9, I consider the most valuable, but probably the hardest to accept. I'm going to suggest you spend more time listening and doing repetition as opposed to thinking or intellectualizing. Now, as adults, we like to intellectualize. It's natural for us. This is kind of what we've done to get to this place in life, for our job, school, intellectualizing. But that's not how music works, nor dance or art. I really got clear on this when I went to learn salsa dancing. I tried so hard to figure and memorize all the steps, but nobody wanted to dance with me because I didn't feel the groove and I was so stiff. It's because I was trying to think out all the moves. Once I let that go and just did simpler steps and got the feel of it, more people wanted to dance with me. The more I danced, the better I got, and it got easier and a lot more fun. It's the same with music. I'm not saying there's not a place for music theory. Really, music theory is helpful. Let it take a back seat to listening and doing repetition. Learn chords and repeat over and over. Listen, did you get it right? Does it sound good? Keep getting feedback by listening and do more repetitions. Melody notes. You want to play lead guitar. Learn some little licks, simple scales. Practice them, get them right, slow. Then build little by little. Apply them to chord progressions. You want to improvise? Play a simple chord progression and play melody over it every day a little bit until it starts sounding good to you. Don't make the mistake of trying to think everything out first or figure it out before you actually put in the effort in terms of listening and doing the repetitions, practicing until it sounds good. You'll find the whole thinking and understanding comes much better after you put in the repetitions. And then you can use whatever knowledge you have of music theory or the way you make sense out of things to kind of enhance your playing as opposed to leading with intellectualizing. That's it for now. I hope this video has helped you out. If it did, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, check out Real Guitar Success. Click the link in the description below or visit my website directly at realguitarsuccess.com. I'll show you how much fun learning guitar can be.